Welcome back to another episode of the Success Times Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Richard Thompson. Today is a solo episode. Bear with me, but we have 7 questions or ideas that you need to ask yourself to have a better life. I hope you really enjoy it. Let's get into it. There's an idea I've always loved, and Tony Robbins, I think, is often associated with it, which is that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions that you ask yourself. And I think that is spot on. Most of us spend so much of our lives looking for better answers, but we rarely stop long enough to ask whether we are asking the right questions in the first place. We ask how to get ahead, how to make more money, how to win, how to prove ourselves, how to get there faster. And none of those are necessarily bad questions. Obviously, I'm not against ambition, I'm not against success, and I'm definitely not against wanting to build something, improve yourself, or provide for your family. But if every question you ask is about achievement, eventually you can achieve a lot and still feel something is missing. Because you can win on paper and still feel restless. You can tick the boxes and still not feel fulfilled. And you can get the title, the house, the business, the income, the recognition, and still have this quiet feeling in the background that says, is this it? So today, I want to talk about success and happiness. Not success or happiness, but success and happiness. Because I don't think they have to be enemies. I don't think you have to choose between them. Being ambitious and being content. I don't think you have to choose between building a great life and actually enjoying the life that you are building. But I do think you need to ask better questions, because the right questions pull you back into alignment, make you more honest with yourself, and help you notice where you're drifting, and sometimes make you uncomfortable in exactly the way that you need. So in this episode, I want to walk through 7 questions, or maybe 7 ideas that sit right at the intersection of success and happiness. And these questions have helped me immensely in the past and every day going forward. They won't solve your whole life overnight, and they're not meant to, but they're useful because they can still act like little checkpoints that bring you back to what matters most. All right, first question. Am I curious enough? Curiosity sounds soft, but I think it's one of the most powerful traits you can build, because while everyone talks about discipline, hard work, resilience, and consistency, and they're all necessary ingredients, mind you, but curiosity is often where growth actually starts. Curiosity helps you open, learning, humble, and engage, and it stops you from becoming rigid and cynical. When you look at kids, they are naturally curious about everything, and they want to know why things happen, how things work, what happens if you try something, and why people do what they do. Then we all become adult, and we stop asking. We grow up and we've decided that we know. We decide that we've seen enough. We decide people are the way that they are. Work is the way it is. Life is the way it is. That can be dangerous, because the moment you stop being curious, you stop growing. You stop seeing new opportunities. You stop listening properly. You start learning from people who are different to you, and you start protecting your current view of the world instead of expanding it. I think curiosity is especially important when you feel stuck, because most people, when they feel stuck, become critical. They criticize themselves. I know that I do, and other people, the situation, the timing, the world around them. But curiosity creates a different energy, because instead of saying, this is impossible, you pose the question of, what haven't I tried yet? And instead of saying that person over there is difficult, curiosity says, what might be going on here that I don't understand? Instead of saying, I've failed, curiosity asks what this moment might be trying to teach you. And that shift is powerful because it moves you out of judgment and back into learning. Curiosity does not make you weak. It makes you adaptable, because it helps you see what other people miss. Listen when other people are just wanting to speak, and learn from mistakes instead of just feeling embarrassed by them. I think that it's one of the great secrets of successful people that I've sat across the table and interviewed. They don't need to be the smartest person in every room. In fact, a lot of successful people deliberately try to get into rooms where they are not the smartest person, because that is where growth happens. Curiosity also helps with happiness, because it helps keep life fresh. When you start being curious, you don't need everything to be perfect to be engaged. You can find interest in the ordinary. You can learn from people who you disagree with. And you can see challenges as puzzles rather than just problems. That is a powerful way to live, because if you can try to stay curious, you can keep growing. And if you can keep growing, then life never really becomes stale. All right, second question. Do I trust that it will all turn out right? I don't mean that in a passive way, because this is not about sitting back doing nothing and avoiding responsibility, hoping that the universe will somehow sort everything out. That is not trust, that's avoidance. There's a huge difference between surrendering control and abandoning responsibility. But what I mean is whether you can do your part without needing to control every part. There is a huge difference between effort and control, because effort is your responsibility, while control is often an illusion. You can do the work, make the call, take the risk, have the conversation, show up with the right attitude, make all the best decisions available to you at the time, but you cannot control every outcome. You can't control timing. You can't control how people respond, what they think. You can't control the market or every twist and turn that life decides to throw at you. So much stress comes from trying to control things that I guess never are fully in our control anyway, because we want certainty before we act, guarantees before we commit. But life's not usually like that. It doesn't give us that. And most importantly, things in life only make sense when we look backwards. At the time, it feels messy and uncertain. It feels like you're right in the middle of something without knowing whether it's going to work out, whether you're making the wrong decision, whether the timing is right. Then later, you look back and realize something important was happening, because the disappointment redirected you, the failure taught you, the hard season built you into something you are today. The delay protected you from something you couldn't see. And the thing you thought you wanted wasn't actually the thing you needed. Most of us have enough evidence in our own lives to know that this is true. I think there's some solace to know that everything will work out okay, because it has to date. And if you're still on the path of growing through that hard, know that one day you will look back and know that it worked out okay. Doesn't mean that everything is easy though. It doesn't mean everything happens for a neat and obvious reason. It doesn't mean pain isn't real. But it does mean you can learn to trust yourself. And I think that is the real center of this question. It's not about whether you can guarantee the outcome, because you can't. It's about whether you can trust yourself to handle what happens when that outcome doesn't occur. That is a very different kind of confidence, because it's not arrogance. It's not fake positivity. And it's not pretending life is easy. It's simply saying, I don't know exactly how this will play out, but I'll keep showing up. I'll keep doing the right thing, and I will be okay, and it will turn out okay, and I will trust that the dots connect later. That matters for happiness, because if you can't trust the process at all, you'll spend your whole life anxious. Even when things are good, you'll be waiting for them to go wrong. Even when you succeed, you'll be worried about losing it. And even when you're making progress, you'll be frustrated that you are not further ahead. So this is really about learning to loosen your grip while still doing your part properly. Care deeply. Work hard, take responsibility, do what you can, obviously, but don't confuse responsibility with control. There is a point where you have to breathe and let go and trust that the next time, trust whatever comes next. The third question is about living in a way that would impress your future self and honor your younger self. Are you living that way? I like this idea because it pulls you in two directions at once. Both are equally as useful. First, it pulls you forward into your future self, the version that is 5, 10, 15 years older than you, maybe even at the end of your life, looking back in the way that you are living today. That future version of you will not care nearly as much about whether today was comfortable, because they will care much more about whether today was meaningful. They don't care whether the hard conversation felt awkward for 5 minutes. They will care whether you told the truth. They won't care whether you're taking the risk that felt scary. They will care about whether you backed yourself. Your future self has a different perspective, because your future self can see the cost of delay. They can see what happens when you keep postponing your health, whether you keep avoiding the decision, whether you keep putting off the things you know that matter, and when you spend years trying to impress people that don't actually matter. That is why it is useful to consult that version of yourself, not in a strange or abstract way, but just as a practical filter for everyday choices. Would my future self, my older self, be proud of the way I am handling this? Would they thank me for this choice? Would they say, good, that was hard, but it mattered, and I promise it did? Then there is the other side of the coin, which is your younger self, and one that hits differently, I think. Your younger self had dreams, energy, belief, and a sense that life could be special, and that life is, and then I guess life happened. Responsibilities happened. Disappointments happened. The rug got pulled underneath you. People hurt you. You got practical, busy, sensible, and realistic, and life requires maturity. But sometimes without meaning to, you can drift away from the person you thought you would become. You stop taking risks. You stop playing. You stop dreaming. You stop saying the honest thing, and you stop giving life a proper crack. So I think there's something powerful in imagining whether the younger version of you would look at your life and feel proud. Not because you became exactly who you imagined you would become when you were young, but I guess no one does, but because you honored the spirit of that person. That part of you that wanted to live fully, that part of you that believed life could be special, and that part of you that didn't want to simply get through the week, pay the bills, tick the boxes, and call that a life. When you combine future self and younger self, you get a powerful compass. Your future self gives you wisdom, and the younger self that will revere you gives you spirit. And somewhere between those two, you find a very good way to live. A life that is not reckless, but not timid either. A life that is responsible, but also still alive. And a life that you look forward and back and think, having a proper crack and having someone that I'm becoming someone that I respect. All right, fourth question. What you're looking for is often in the space that you are avoiding. This is probably one of the most uncomfortable ideas, but it might also be one of the most useful, because the breakthrough is often in the conversation you don't want to have. The clarity is often in the decision you keep postponing, and the growth is often in the discomfort that you're stepping around. Most of us know what we need to do more often than we admit. Not always, because life can be genuinely confusing, but often deep down we know. We know we need to have the conversation. Start, stop, tell the truth, change the habit, ask for help, walk away, or finally commit. But instead of doing it, we distract ourselves. We get busy. We have screens in our face. We add more to our plate and tell ourselves the timing isn't right and we'll deal with that next week. We throw it under the rug and hope that it'll resolve itself by itself. But there's never a right time. That's just fear dressed up in reasonable language. Avoidance is expensive because it costs energy, clarity, and confidence. It costs energy because you are always carrying the thing in the background. It costs clarity because you can't think cleanly when you are dodging the truth. And it costs confidence because every time you avoid something you know you need to face, a part of you notices. You might be able to explain it away to everyone else. You might be able to justify it, and you might even be able to distract yourself for a while. But deep down, you know. You go to bed with yourself and you know exactly what you're avoiding. And that quiet knowing takes up that space. That is why naming the thing matters, because the moment you admit what you are avoiding, it loses some of its power. The monster under the bed is actually worse when you don't look at it. And once you look, you may still have to deal with it, and that is hard, but at least now you are dealing with reality, and reality is workable, while avoidance is not workable. The point is not to shame yourself, because shame rarely helps anyone grow. The point is honesty, because success requires courage, but happiness requires honesty. And you can't build a fulfilling life while constantly stepping around the truth. You don't need to solve the whole thing instantly, because sometimes the most powerful move is just the smallest first step. Send the message, book the appointment, write the first page, tell the truth, make the decision, start the conversation, do whatever you need to do, but walk toward the thing you've been avoiding, even if you only take the first step. Because very often that is where the next version of your life is waiting, and that first step is the hardest out of the whole lot. Such an important one. Hey guys, just popping in quickly to say thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you're enjoying this episode, it would mean a lot if you take a second to follow the show, leave a like or review, and share it with a friend. That support genuinely helps us grow and keep bringing you more great conversations every single week. All right, let's get back into it. All right, number 5. Don't wait. Life is happening right now. The 5th idea is that life is happening right now, and this one matters because so many of us are living in the future. We're always waiting for the business to get to the next level, the money to be right, the house to the holiday, the kids to get older, the pressure to ease, or the perfect moment when life finally becomes enjoyable. The danger is that you can spend your whole life preparing to live. You can become so focused on the next thing that you miss this thing. And I don't say that as someone who has mastered it, because I need the reminder as well. Life is happening now, not later. And these might be the golden years. We'll look back and go, man, how good was this period of time to be alive? That line gets me because we often think of the golden years as something behind us or ahead of us. We look back and romanticize the past, or we look forward and imagine some future season where everything is calmer, easier, richer, freer, or better, or less stressful. But what if this is one of those seasons? What if this messy, imperfect, stressful, demanding chapter is one that we'll look back on and wish we could visit again? I guarantee the 80-year-old version of myself would give anything to be here at 40. What if the ordinary things you are rushing through are the things that you will miss, like the coffee, the drive, the noise in the house, the kids drawing crayons on the wall, the chaos, the health you have, the opportunity you have, the fact that you are alive and in the game? We talk about happiness as though it is something out there, but so much joy is available in the present if we awake enough to notice it. And it's in here. It does not mean abandoning ambition, stopping the pursuit of goals. It means not postponing your entire life until some imaginary future moment where all the problems disappear, because they simply won't. If you think about every time you've achieved, in fact, you're probably at a position in life now that you thought your younger self would only dream of and think that you'd be happier and no problems would exist. It does not occur. If happiness depends on having no problems, you will never be happy. A better skill is learning to experience joy while still having things to work on. It is learning to be present while still being ambitious, to care deeply without gripping everything so tightly, and enjoy where you are while still moving toward where you want to go. That is a powerful way to live, and I really think success has to be included in that. Real success is not just arriving at a destination, but being awake for the journey itself and loving every moment of it. It is enjoying the people you claim to love, noticing what is already good, and making space for joy, care, presence, and play. Life is not something that starts at the start of the next milestone or the next achievement. It's happening to us right now. Question 6. When in doubt, improve yourself. Well, the 6th idea is that when in doubt, improve yourself. This is a grounding thought because life gets confusing. There are seasons where you don't know exactly what to do, which opportunity to take, how something will unfold. The uncertainty of life is incredible. In those moments, it is easy to spiral, to overthink, and sit there waiting for certainty to come. But then one thing is almost always useful. Improve yourself. Work on your health, your thinking, your habits, your communication, your emotional control, your skill set, your relationships. There's so many things you can work on for yourself, because no matter what happens next, a better version of you is going to handle it better. It will turn out. The goal will occur, or it may not, but you'll be a better version to tackle it. This is the beauty of self-improvement, right? Because it transfers. If you improve your health, you bring more energy to everything. If you improve your communication, your relationships, leadership, and business improve. If you improve your discipline, every goal becomes more realistic. And if you improve your thinking, your decisions improve. So when in doubt, focus on becoming better. But this needs to be said carefully, because self-improvement can also become toxic if it becomes a form of place of self-hatred. This is not about saying, I'm broken, I need to fix myself. It's about saying, I'm valuable, and because I'm valuable, I'm worth investing in. That is a very different energy, because you don't improve yourself because you hate yourself. You improve yourself because you respect yourself. The best part is that small improvements compound, and you don't need to transform your whole life in 1 week or stage some dramatic reinvention. You just need to keep making small promises to yourself and keep those promises. If you promise to yourself you're going to go for a walk, go for a walk. Read the pages, make the call, do the workout, prepare properly, get to bed at the time that you want to. Stop doom scrolling or turning on the TV, and do the thing you said you would do. Confidence comes from evidence, and every time you do something that proves you can trust yourself and build that evidence. That is why self-improvement is such a steadying force, I think, because when the world feels uncertain, you can come back to one thing you can influence most directly, which is yourself. While you may not control the whole game, and obviously we've addressed that today, you can always work on the player. And the better the player gets, the better the game tends to go. I love that one. All right, number 7. Who am I becoming? I think this might be the deepest question of the lot, because success is not just about what you achieve, it's about who you're becoming in the process. And happiness is not just about how you feel, it's about whether you respect the person you're becoming. You can achieve a goal and lose yourself along the way. You can win externally and become someone who you don't like internally. You can build the business but lose your health. You can make the money but become bitter. It's just disconnected. And that is not success. Not really. This is why becoming matters, because every day is shaping you. Every choice is training you, and every habit is casting a vote for the person that you are becoming. The way you speak matters. The way you handle pressure matters. The way you treat people when you are tired especially matters. And the promises you keep or break to yourself matter. That can feel confronting, because it means your daily choices are not neutral, and they are taking you somewhere, either towards your goal and aspirations or away from them. But it's also encouraging, because it means that you are not fixed. You are becoming, which means that you can change direction, build new evidence, become a stronger, calmer, kinder, braver, more aligned human being. Certainly not overnight, but over time. Maybe that is the real goal, not just to have more or do more, but to become someone you respect. Because at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself. It's the only relationship you have from birth to death. You can distract yourself from that for a while, stay busy, chase external validation, fill the calendar, but eventually you have to sit with yourself, whether it's now or when it's on your deathbed. And I think one of the greatest forms of happiness is self-respect. Knowing you are not perfect, but you are trying. Knowing you have made mistakes, but you are learning. And knowing that you don't have it all figured out, but you are becoming someone you are going to be proud of. So if your current habits, mindset, relationships, priorities, way of spending time, the way you're dealing with stress continue for 5 years, where would they take you? To what benefit are they giving you? Would you be proud of that person? Would you be healthy, connected, fulfilled? If yes, keep going. If no, adjust. Not with panic, not with shame, but with honesty, because your future is not built in the future. It is built today, in small choices, in what you do when nobody is watching, in questions you ask, in the standards you live by. So these are 7 ideas. Be more curious. Trust that it will turn out all right. Live in a way that impresses your future self and honors your younger self. Walk toward what you are avoiding, and don't wait to live, because life is happening now. And improve yourself when in doubt. And finally, pay attention to who you're becoming. I think if you sit with those ideas honestly, they change the way you move through life. Not because they give you every answer instantly, but because they won't. But because they point you in the right direction. They bring you back to what matters, and they stop you living on autopilot. That is the real danger to most of us, because it's not that we're deliberately choosing the wrong life. It's that we drift. We get busy We chase what everyone else is chasing, inherit other people's definitions of success and their problems. We postpone happiness, avoid discomfort, forget to be curious, and stop checking in with ourselves importantly. And then one day we wonder, how the hell did we get here? Better questions interrupt that drift because they wake you up like a slap in the face, make you conscious again, and give you the chance to choose deliberately rather than just continue automatically. Success and happiness are not just outcomes, they're practices. You practice curiosity, trust, courage, presence, self-improvement, and becoming the kind of person that you can hold both ambition and peace. Maybe that is the point. Maybe the goal is not to choose between success and happiness, but to redefine those terms. Because what is success if you are miserable or never present, giving the worst of yourself to the people closest to you, or becoming someone you don't even respect? But at the same time, what is happiness without growth, without purpose, challenge, contribution to the community, and the feeling that you are becoming more of who you are capable of being? I don't want a life empty of achievement, but I also don't want a life of passive comfort. I want both. I want to build, grow, contribute, and stretch, but I also want to enjoy the coffee, my wife, my kids, the season I'm in, and the golden years where I'm actually living them. And I think that is available, not perfectly and not every day, but more often than we realize if we ask better questions. So after this episode, don't try to change your whole life overnight. Just pick one idea, the one that hit you the hardest. Whether it is curiosity, trust, avoidance, presence, self-improvement, or who you're becoming, sit with that. Write it down, take it for a walk, bring it into your next decision, and then take one honest step. Because one better question can lead to one better choice. One better choice can lead to one better day, and enough better days can change the direction of your entire life. That is the power of questions. They seem small, but they shape your focus. Your focus shapes your decisions. Your decisions shape your habits. Your habits shape your character, and your character shape your life. And so we ask better questions. We live better answers. You don't wait for some future moment to start enjoying the life you're working so hard to build. Tony Robbins was spot on. Life is happening now, and these might be the golden years. So be curious. Trust the process. Make your future self proud. Honor your younger self. Walk toward what you have been avoiding, and be here while you are here. Invest in yourself, and above all, pay attention to who you are becoming, because that is where success and happiness finally meet. That was another episode of the Success Times Happiness podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you really enjoyed it, turn to the person next to you and tell them all about the show. Feel free to share it with someone that needs to hear it. Like, subscribe, share. That's how we do it. But anyway, until next time, peace.